Welcome, sir. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Very good morning.
Very good morning, Professor.
Very good morning, Professor Gurumurthy, Professor sir.
Very
Vanakkam,
good. Vanakkam, vanakkam.
Very good.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
sir.
Good morning. Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Continue, sir.
Okay, madam, okay, you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, sir.
Okay.
Good morning to all. The most respected resource person, Dr. M. Muninarayanappa, sir. Respected Professor and Head of the Department of Commerce, VC Officiating Committee Member, Member of Syndicate, P.R. Gurumurthy, sir. My dear colleagues and dear participants, welcome to all. On behalf of Department of Commerce and on my own behalf, I have the great pleasure of introducing the resource person, Dr. M. Muni Narayanappa, Professor, Dean and Chairman, Department of Commerce and Management, Bangalore University. Bangalore is a scholar and a writer. He has created vibrant climate culture as coordinator of School of Business Studies. Appearing 5 years integrated MBS degree program provided by the university. He is a coordinator of MCOM International Business Program. He has authored 3 books on commerce and management, subject catering to the needs of South Indian students of graduate and postgraduate students in commerce and management. He has written and published more than 50 research articles in the national and international journals. He is a subject expert for Central Institute of Vocational Education, a constituent unit of NCERT, Ministry of HRD, Government of India. He is a recipient of Rajiv Gandhi Excellent Award. He is General Secretary of Indian Council for Business Education and also participated and presented research paper on Made Users World Paradox of Users and Polaris make a breakthrough in environmental accounting at University of Oxford, United Kingdom, London, which was published in double-blind peer-reviewed journal named European Scientific Journals with an impact factor 8.25, one major research project and another major research project, UGC MRP, successfully completed, sponsored by University Grant Commissions. I welcome Dr. M. Muninarayanappa sir to deliver his special lecture on selection of sampling methods in social science, research and sample size determinations. I welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kanagavalli. Nice introduction. And Professor Gurumurthy, the academic leader and great source of motivation and inspiration in all academic activities of not only Alagappa University, the rest of the country. And Dr. Vinayaga Murthy, Professor Ganesh Murthy, all participants and invitees. It is great pleasure and happy to be share my random thoughts. This is the 2 weeks capacity building program. The Alagappa University selected very relevant, the most important need of the hour today's context, the academic context, the vibration situation, and we are facing first and second pandemic in India and not only India, the rest of the world. In this situation, meeting the academicians and interacting the academicians, enriching and enlightening ourselves to meet the needs of the stakeholders is the more responsibility on the part of the teacher. And today's my topic is selection of sampling methods in social science research. And I am grateful to the Alagappa University. Of course, Alagappa University is the oldest university and happy to be associate the most important, which provides needs and cater the needs of the students community in the entire country. And on behalf of the all participants, I express my gratitude the greatest and valued person, Professor T.R. Gurumurthy, and he is very much here today. And I am going to speak maybe up to 1 o'clock, and it will be tea break. Kindly make any changes or maybe interaction required here and there also. Nothing, you need not to much, because I am a teacher like you also. We are ourselves together, we are enriching ourselves. And this social science research is most relevant because ours is the multicultural, multifaceted, the vernacular, various, the different vernacular languages in the country of the different states and following different culture, beliefs, and together we are achieving the goal of the achieving the relevant, the academic goal, because education is very important. Any country wants to grow and develop. The reason is the background of that country education system. And we have the old Gurukula system. In 13th, 14th century, we have 28 GDP, and today we are trying for the 5% GDP achievement. And education is the very important to see and understand the various among between sectors where we are lagging. So the quality of education, quality of the teachers, my jewels of the teachers, and very important because we are reaching to them also. And social science research is a very important. What I want to be know, few issues, learning objectives of today is the characteristics of the good sample, advantages of sampling, limitations of sampling, and sampling techniques in social science research, the probability sampling techniques, non-probability techniques, and even criteria for selecting, what criteria will be required in selecting the sampling, the various techniques also, determining and clearly specific sample size required to our research work, and various types of errors also. These things also we will be discussing. Please, next slide. And social science research is a systematic method of exploring, analyzing, and conceptualizing the human life, because we are all human beings. Being human is very important. That is achieved in the social science research. And here, the conceptualizing this human life in order to extend the correctness, the correct, and verifying the authenticity of the knowledge, the behavior, and the social life of human being. In other words, what I can say, the social science research seeks to explanations to unexpected social phenomena, to clarify the various doubts arising in carrying out our day-to-day life, various sectors of the economy, and misconceived of facts of the social life also. And when we got up by 4 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock, whatever, and we will get many ideas also. And before, when we got up immediately, what we did yesterday, and before going to bed, what we did today, we are looking back. And soon after got up, we will see the flashback of yesterday's and today's, what will be the program, what will be, can I able to match, can I able to compatible to the students, can I able to address the students, what will be the present and current nascent issues pertaining to today's country facing and stakeholders facing, and my students, what we will be make them to be world class students, or what, all these things will come to our mind. And particularly when reaching to the department, and of course the Karaikudi is not much traffic. In Bangalore, you can see the traffic, the management of the traffic. It is very difficult because adding every day 5,000 vehicles on the road, is it not? It is not possible to stretch the loan unless we are demolishing certain, the buildings and expanding. What will be the litigations? What will be the because of the democracy system, the democratic dispensation, what we have accepted? And here, and social science research will give the answer. Social science, we are all going to give the answers to the problems, and every problem is the solution. So what objectives required to be social science research? The aim of the social science research, like research in physical science, discover new facts or verify the test old and verify the test of old facts, the authenticity and the superiority and achieving over the previous one. And here it tries to, the social science research is tries to understand the human behavior, because the consumer behavior, the buying behavior, we can see, we have studied also, and we have come across the various regulatory mechanism. Let the buyer is beware, caveat emptor. You see, so this social science research, it tries to understand human behavior, the various human behavior, and its interaction with the environment and the other social institutions. We have n number of social institutions. The family is as also an institution. A society is a larger institution. Even our institute, the educational institutions also as an institution, social, because people, see, we are all human beings. We are part and parcel of the society. We are part of it. And whatever happens, we have to react, we have to participate, we have to respond properly. A rightful response, legitimate responding to the issues, the current issues, the future, what will be happening, we are predicting also. And not only this, the social science research tries to find out the causal connections, the connection between the human activities, laws governing, and various regulatory mechanisms also are there. And here another issue, the social science research objectives. The purpose of the social science research is to develop new scientific tools, the concepts and the theories. We are creators of the theories. We are, our research students also publishing the articles. We are also encouraging. We make them to publish. We ask them to publish. We are encouraging them to publish. We are identifying problems, social problems, everyday problems. And when number of problems are passing through us, we are pick what will be which is the most important, relevant in the context of the situation for us. So these will be, they develop the new scientific tools, the concepts, and these new theories. And these theories we will be going to study, give the, from time to time, the various theories are coming, and the Alagappa school of thought and the commerce and management thought also will be there. Bangalore City University School of Thought and Belief also will be there. Are they, these will be matching or not? Where it is, whether the education, whether the attitude, whether the other issues also will be taken into consideration. And these theories, which would be facilitated, reliable, whether it is what extent it will be reliable, and what extent it is the valid study, and what will be of the human behavior and the social life. So now let us discuss the important technologies used in sampling theories. So here population is one of the aspect. And see, the term of population, the term population means here all the members that meet a set of specifications are a specified criteria. What are those criteria? For example, you can see here the population of the United States is defined as all people residing in the United States. So, of course, population is the key factor, key terms to the social science research. And here, in a survey of achievement in mathematics, a researcher will have to define the population of the students by age or by what? Grade. What grade? Either first grade or second grade or the CGPA or what? What type of arrangement we made. If necessary, he will be also specified, the researcher also specified the type of schools, the geographical area and the academic year for which the data will be collected. So we need to be, the data will be collected, the various sources, formal sources, informal sources, various techniques, the tools available to collect the data also, to make easy to the researcher to come to conclusions. We are using the various methods, techniques also. And here, if a population is not properly defined, what type of population, what type of the universe, what we have to define, we have to clarify. And a researcher does not know what units to consider when selecting the sample. And here the sample issue, here selected group of some elements from the totality of the population is known as the sample. See here, when only some elements are selected from a population, we refer to that a sample. It is from the study of the sample that something is known and said about the whole population. Here the assumption is that what is the revealed about the sample, what will be the revealed, the sample will be the true about the population as the whole, but it may not be true also sometimes, because always as it depends on the way the sample is drawn, the various, whether cluster or whether what type of the judgment sampling, what type of sample is drawn, a representative, whatever selected the sample size, is it representing the whole universe is the big question. It also depends upon the researcher who has the knowledge and wisdom and the outcome based on the objectives of the the designed by the researcher. And here always the sampling is the process of selecting a sample from the population. For this purpose, the population is divided into number of parts called sampling units, and most of the educational phenomena consists of a large number of units. Sampling is a process by which a relatively small number of individuals, because we cannot take the whole universe, and we are based on requirement, based on our purpose, based on our objectives, we have to select. And the sampling is here the process by which a relatively small number of individuals or measures of objects or the events, it is selected and analyzed in order to find out the something about the entire population from which it is selected. So here the elements is, and what I want to say now, the sampling is the process of selecting the sample from the population, the whole universe. It is not. So according to David S. Fox, in social sciences always it is not possible to collect data from every respondent relevant to our study, but only from fractional part of the respondents. It is not, because of the time is the limited and resources are limited, and time is a very important factor. But what a human being, maybe 60 years or 70 years of the the life, and the relevancy, relevant, the what you are going to submit, the outcome which will be implemented, it will be going to implement, which also affect the policy implications, and the relevancy of that, the context, present context, when we are going to, the policymakers and administrators going to implement this is the very important. So if it is the time is when it is the no, many times the democratic dispensation what we have accepted, the judiciary system in delivering the lecture, sorry, delivering the judgment, the landmark judgments, it will become outdated. The person who has filed the petitioner, he will be no more. Maybe second generation, the son or the daughter. And if the judgment receives, what is the use, the relevance? And we have to see the fruitfulness. We have to see the consequences, the implications of various issues. So that is very important. The study, some, no, we cannot select the whole universe. We will be select only sample based on requirement. So the process of selecting fractal part is the sampling. And sampling design is also very important on the part of the researcher. Refer to the procedure of selection and the estimation. We have to predict, we have to plan, we design, well planned, and well in advance we have to, because when we the other day expecting this my baby should be in the future after 20 years, after 10 years, after 5 years, where we have to give provide education, what we want to do it, where we have to do it, where in which type of education, whether technical or non-technical or conventional or the medical. So like that, the mother always thinks like that also. So that means to say here, so the design, the sampling design is also very important on the part of the researcher. Researcher is a, always thinking. Posing means eyes of us, thinking, redesigning, redesigning, give ideas, adding to existing theories. So sample design is important part of, and some refer to the joint procedure, the detection and estimation important because time lapses, all these issues. Sampling would be such that error of measure will be minimal. So the science research, the minimum may be acted. Minimum maybe when selecting this, when the patient, all these issues will be very important of the research. I can see the instance is the alone, he is alone. He alone, the part, one of the parties said it is the evidence. Is it audible? Is it audible? Is it audible? Hello? Anybody kindly speak? Is it audible?
Sir, sir, it is some disturbance, sir. Sir, audio is breaking, sir.
Hello? Today audio clear. It's okay now. Is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Sir, audible, sir.
Yes, Professor, now perfectly audible. Now perfectly
Yes,
audible.
sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No problem.
ಇದರದಲ್ಲಿ okay, will we come back because of the technical issues? Sometimes this advanced whatever we have the technology, sometimes it will be troubling us also. Okay, anyhow, it is the part of our life. We have to accept it also. And here what I want to say, when we are talking about the relating to the issues, the terms, the sampling and sampling design, I think I am speaking with the sampling design. And this sampling is very, very important at the part of the researcher. The half of the issues will be solved if the sampling, correct objectives, with the keeping in mind where we want to going to land and who are the users of our data. These issues, once it will be and certainly it will be half of the work will be completed. What I feel it on the basis of my. And here the and assigned a single member of any given population is the referred to a total element. And here, when the sampling is so important for the researcher, the size of the sampling, the tools which are used, that with the various tools the used by the researcher is also very important. What type of tools required for my research work? Who are the beneficiaries? Who will be the users? Whether whether we will be going to address social issues or economic issues or the political issues or maybe the commerce issues or the marketing issues or maybe salesmen's issues. What type of issues we want to address, we are going to land is very, very important on the part of us also. And here a good researcher always think many times he alone will be sitting in the alone. He will be without disturbance, and he will be enjoying that the mood, that rhythm of individuality also. And when we think when only some elements are selected here, and here from a population we refer so that as sample, and here whenever want to be addressing the issues where we will be going to land also very important. A single number of a given population is referred to an element, and 2 is an element. And here for example, when we take the population of India, every individual in the population are known as an element. So what characteristics of these social science research? A good sample. What type of person, what type of sample required? So the various features of the good sample is should possess whether the result obtained from a sample survey or would be accurate. This would be very accurate or not depends upon the quality of the sample. The characteristics or the features of a good sample are when we say the representatives. What representative? We have already a couple of minutes we have before troubled us. We have discussed this. What representatives from the whole universe. And here a sample must be representative of the population. And whether the education is the most important, whether the age is the most important, whether the economic conditions is more important, or social issues, social networking issues are important, which is the most important. So probably sampling techniques yield the representative sample. So it is the representative sample. Here the probability applied techniques yield a representative sample. That no technique, that sampling technique should be used. In measurement of the terms, the sample must be valid, but more valid, more accurate, more relevancy also. The validity of sample depends upon the accuracy and the precision. And I am using the accuracy to more clarify on this accuracy. Accuracy is defined as the degree to which bias is absent from the sample. An accurate, unbiased sample. Accurate means it is an unbiased sample. No, is one which exactly represents the population. It is free from any influence that causes any difference between the sample value and the population value. Say, for example, average also. And this is unbiased and quality representatives. The degree of representative is expressing that represents the whole universe also. So this is very important on the part of the researcher, and also this is one of the important characteristics of the social science researcher should remember as the good sample. Another important to call it as a good sample is one of the important factor that the precision. Precision means exactness, accurate, the more accurate, exact. It is on time. I said on time I will join today. I said to the the technical supporter, Dr. Kanadavalli. Is it? So on time, in time is maybe earlier, well in advance we will be joining, and in time means well in advance we are joining. On time means exactly very accuracy we are going to joining. That is what that is the meaning. So precision is very important. So that is one of the characteristics of the sample. The sample must yield precise estimate, and estimate should be very clear, concise to the in the minds of the researcher, precise measured by the standard error of standard deviation of the sample estimate. Thus, smaller the standard error or estimate, the higher is the precision. That is very important of the sample. So size also very important. Many times also size also very important. And what type of how much the amount of size. A good sample must be adequate in size in order to be reliable. That size, that representative of the whole universe should be reliable. The sample should be of such size that the reference drawn from the sample are the accurate to a given level of confidence. So when only once some elements are selected from the population, we refer that as a sample. This sample is accurate, the precise, and more precision and representative of the whole universe. You can see the sample from the population, from the whole universe. We drawn the sample. The size should be accurate and representative of the whole universe also. Next slide. And of course, already I said the David, according to David S. Fox in the social sciences, it is not possible to collect data from every respondent relevant to our study, but however only from some fractional part of the respondents, and the process of selecting of the fractional part is called sampling. So sampling design also I discussed. So it is refers to the joint procedure of selection, and estimation sampling should be such that error of estimation should be minimum. So how much the possible extent of minimizing the error, that accuracy, the accuracy is increasing. Higher the accuracy, and lesser the error also percolated in our research work. Next para. Kindly call me after some time. And this, what we have discussed, this representative of the sample should be must be representative of the population, and accuracy also on the part of the researcher is required, more accuracy, and what degree, what extent of the degree to which the bias absent from the sample, and precision, exactness, the accuracy, it is unbiased. When we are using these absent from the that means to say bias is the absent from the population, it is free from the influence and causes by difference between the sample value of population, sample value and population value. And the size also, what I said, it is very important, should be adequate, should be representative. What it depends upon your objectives, what you designed and stated, whatever your stated objective should be fulfilled, should be achieved also. Next slide. Okay, advantages. Yes, that is true. And here the more advantages also from the sampling. And what I said, it is the meditation. We have to write our title, and objectives also we have to write and keep it with us in our pocket whenever we find time.
Sir, not audible, sir.
Hello, sir. Unmute your
Yes, sir.
audio.
Okay, now.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Clear, sir.
Okay. It is sometimes it is automatically by default it will be happening. Okay. Advantages of sampling. When we talk about the advantages of sampling, the universe, the whole universe, and how out of the whole universe, the representatives, how represents the whole universe, this sample size. It is the advantages of the sampling, low cost of sampling. Cost also very important. The time factor, what I said already, it is important. Time is very, very important on the part of us also. No, go back to the previous slide. I am talking about only the advantages. And here, low cost of sampling. And if the data were to be collected, the entire population, the cost will be quite. No, go back. Please, I will be informing you. Who is handling? I will inform you. Let us even one sentence, if we go to our mind, in each slide is better. More clarifying, more accuracy is required. And no, here the cost also very important. What is the cost? What is the resources available to you? What is the time given for carrying out your research? And all these also advantages. The relating to the government will ask you to prepare a roadmap. The
Sir, unmute yourself, sir. Hello, sir. Are you hearing me? Unmute yourself.
okay now. Okay.
Fine.
After some time. Okay. I will check and then come after 1 o'clock. So here, the less time consuming in sampling, that is also very important. You have to see when you are drawing the sample size, the size should be minimum. And this sample of representatives should be representing the whole universe also. Scope of the sampling is high, and this is one advantages. And organization of convenience. and collecting for, because sampling size, it is not going to collect from the whole universe. The representative of the sample size should be minimum. That should be representatives of the whole views, opinions, maximum to the extent. Accuracy of the data should be high. And these people, these representatives, these sample size, these units should be provided to you. Each element also very important. And intensive and exhaustive data is required for you. This representative, this element should be able to provide the exhaustive information. And because the researcher should study the representative also, observe the representative also, and see the background of the representative also, and suitable in limited resources, better rapport established with the units, small units, even element. That is also very important. And this, it should be what scope, what will be the available resources is also very important on the part of the researcher. And here, so sampling also reduces the time and cost of research, your studies, also the time. Sampling saves the labor also. And here, and the quality of the study of is often better with sampling than with a complete coverage. So sampling is the only procedure possible, and various statistical sampling yields as a crucial advantages to the researcher. And it will be also go back, sometimes go back to the title also. We will be go back to the objectives also. We will be see the universe and study again also. And whatever the sample representative, is it accurate? Is it representatives of the whole universe or not? So this exercise will be taking place. Maybe many times also, many times revisit also this idea and refer also and looking and relooking also is required. Next slide, please. And of course, in spite of the advantages and merits of the sampling, and certain limitations, drawbacks also will be there. And here, the limitations, the sampling is, however, this not free from the limitations. Sampling demands a thorough knowledge of the sampling methods and also procedure and exercise of goal care, and otherwise the results obtained may be incorrect and misleading also. This is very important on the part of the researcher, should be relook also. When the characteristics of measured occurs only really and rarely in the population, and sometimes when the characteristic to be measured occurs only rarely in the population, a very large sample is required to accrue and secure units that will give the reliable information about it. A large sample has all the drawbacks of the census survey, and we have national survey organization also is there. How many times they will be revised, and a sample drawn from them, drawn from the universe, what will be the difficulties in go back and again do it. It is very difficult. It is lot of time required. Now in India today, it is the lot of debate is going on. The caste-wise census is required or not, and it is the required some set of the people, and some set of the people not necessary, and education is the criteria, or economic criteria is required. So like that, the different parameters, and which parameter is most important? Only caste is the parameter to assess the individual, the the status, or maybe the ability, or the what type of census required. It is the required all the parameters, all aspects, all issues required to collect the data and draw the conclusions and all the advantages, all the whatever the budget advantages to reach to these needy people, empowering the oppressed or maybe the economically weaker sections or below poverty line people. What type of parameters, what type of issues, what type of ingredients, what type of objectives, what type of relevant information to be going to be collected to draw the conclusion to give the solution to these problems also. So this is many times also, and in the democratic system, and it is very difficult to collect the data many times also. Many of them also many times they are not going to disclose also certain information also, and they are hiding also. It is possible only in the democratic system. Now we are moving to old and outdated laws, outdated regulatory mechanism. We will be going to repeal also. We will be adding. This will be going to possible because of the researcher. And thanks to the universities, thanks to the research premier institutions, they are going to give the solution to the problems. If it is not coming the proper solution to the problems, it is lies with us, the problem with us only. So whenever we have not achieved means, we have to question ourselves. The researcher should question himself also or herself where we are deviated from the stated objectives in my research work. So the advantages and disadvantages of sampling method of data collection, and here of course reduce the cost because the representative cannot whole universe will be going to be collect the data from each and everyone. Only the representatives will be collected, and also not only reduce the cost, it's cheaper to collect the data from a part of the whole population and is economically advantage to the researcher. Another one is the greater speed also possible, and the detailed information we can collect because questionnaires or schedules, the various other supporting tools also can be used also. And the practical method, practicality is possible and is also much easier. These are all the advantages in spite of the certain disadvantages and demerits. These are all the, and even the complicated sampling plan may require more labor there to complete the coverage sometimes also, and that's why try to reduce the the elements or the size representatives. That is also very important on the part of the research also. It may not be possible to ensure the representatives of the sample even by the most perfect sampling procedures. The sampling results in a certain degree of sampling errors, that is there will be some difference between the sample value and sample population value will occur, will percolate it in the social science research. And next slide. Now let us discuss these techniques also. And here the sampling techniques, one is the probability and non-probability sampling. And here when probability sampling, the method, the random sampling and systematic sampling and stratified random sampling and cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling also. The probability here, in a probability sampling, the units of the population are not selected at the discretion of the researcher. But however, certain procedures which ensure that every unit of a population has one fixed probability of being included in the sample. Such a method is also called random sampling. And here probability samplings are selected in a way as to be representative of the population. They provide the most valid and credible results because they affect and reflect the characteristics, not affect, it is the effect and reflect and the characteristics of the population from which they are selected. So with probability sampling, a researcher can always specify the probability of an elements being included in the sample, and it is the sample this techniques being to be included in the sample, and the techniques of the probability sampling. This is one of the important is the simple random sampling, and when we do use simple random sampling, there is a very large population, and it is difficult to identify every member of the population. We use simple. Hello? Anything want to say? Dr. VT, you want to speak? So we use simple random sampling. When simple random or the random sampling is used, each element in the population has a equal chance to be being selected. So equal chance will be given to in the whole universe. In the selection of the units or the group from the population is then such a manner that every unit in the population has equal chance of being chosen, and the selection of any unit is in no way tied with the selection of any other. So to prevent the researcher from being a result of the exercising a direct control over this of unit, several devices are employed to the samples population. Some techniques we can say tossing a coin, even throwing a dice, even lottery method and blindfolded method. Like that, many when we want to do good thing, we will write on the slips and draw the slips on by our own. Maybe is it like that? These are some of the techniques are used in the simple random sampling, tossing a coin, throwing a dice, and even lottery method also, and even the blindfolded method also. So what will be the pros and cons by simple random sampling method? By selecting these some techniques, what will be the pros, what will be the cons? So here pros are, in this technique, each member of the population has an equal chance of being selected as subject. Who is given, that is the advantage. What cons? So when there are very large population, it is often difficult to identify every member of the population. It is geographically it is very difficult because it is a vast area, and every member of the population, and the pool of subjects becomes biased also. I am not attracted the mathematics. I am not attracted 1 minute. Manoj, ಇದು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, low battery ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. Check fast. Okay, this when the very large population is often difficult to identify for the researcher also, and every member of the population and every pool of the subject, the subject becomes biased also, and dialing members from the phone book, for instance, may not be entirely random as the numbers, though random would correspond to be localized region. So a sample is created by a researcher by doing so much, or so might leave out of many selections and sections of the populations that are significant for the study. It may lose the relevancy of the report, relevancy of the outcome, relevance of the suggestions, or the for example, I want to study and understand the rice consumption pattern across the rural area of the Karaikudi. Okay, while it might not be possible to cover every household, so in this case what I have to do, could draw the meaningful insights by building your sample and building my sample from the different districts or different households in that particular Karaikudi area, or the villages or the household units, depending on the scope of my research, using the simple random sampling. Then the systematic sampling is one of the probability sampling technique in the social science research. Your given population is logically homogeneous. Yes, correct. The heterogeneity is not, no, here the example, the homogeneity of the population is there. So when your given population is logically homogeneous, how the systematic sampling we will be going to draw? In a systematic sampling or in a systematic sample, after you decide the sample size, a researcher will be decide the what type, what extent and degree of the size, arrange the elements of the population in some order, and select terms at regular intervals from the list. It's not coming. So, what will be the pros for this advantages? This is systematic sampling. See, the main advantage of using systematic sampling over the simple random sampling is its simplicity. The very, the name indicates the very simplicity. And another advantage of selection, systematic random sampling over the simple random sampling is the assurance that the population will be eventually sampled. What will be the advantage, disadvantages, or the pros or the cons? Here, cons are the possible weaknesses, possible disadvantages of this method that may compromise the randomness of the sample. The randomness of the sample is inherent and a periodicity of the list. And this can be avoided by randomizing the list of your population, and you would randomize a deck of cards, for instance, before you proceed with the systematic sampling. For this example, systematic sampling, suppose a supermarket wants to study buying habits of their customers. A supermarket is located, it is a busy schedule and one of the best accessible place and centrally located, and using systematic sampling, they can choose every 10th or 15th or 20th customers, or maybe like that maybe selected that customer entering the supermarket and conduct the study on this sample. So every 10th person or every 15th person also can be selected. Then third important sampling under the sampling technique of the probability sampling is stratified random sampling. Here, stratified random sampling, when you divide your population, when you are going to divide your population, characteristics of the importance of the research. From your point of view, from your research point of view, the importance of the research, and you divide your population, the whole universe population, into characteristics. How you are going to make this divide your population into characteristics? When the population can be characterized or categorized into different homogeneous groups, we use the stratified random sampling so that all the population parameters are included in the sample drawn by the researcher. Say, for example, by gender, by social class, by educational level, by region wise, etc. Even when the population is randomly sampled with each category of stratum, if the 38% of the population is college educated, then 38% of the sample is randomly selected from the college educated subset of the population. So what will be the pros here? So here, this method also, the stratified random sampling method also, charge ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ ನೋಡಿ. Okay, is going. Okay, and this stratified random sampling method attempts to overcome the shortcomings of the random sampling by the no whatever the drawbacks are, the it is overcome here also in the stratified sampling. And this random sampling by splitting the population into various distinct segments and selecting the entities from each of them. This ensures that every category of the population is represented in the sample size. So a researcher should see that this ensures that this the technique ensures that every category of the population is represented in the sample, and this stratified sampling is often used when one or more of the sections in the population have a low incidence relative to other sections. So what will be the cons? Under this the sampling techniques of the stratified random sampling, this sampling is the most complex sometimes also, and this sampling, and it lays down the criteria that may be difficult to fulfill and place a heavy strain on your available resources. Sometimes a researcher should strained also, it is the complex also, difficult to fulfill all the criteria to select these people also, because it is the segmented, it is the stratified sampling, it is the population may be category wise, and the researcher should ensure that the representing this population represented the what the sections, whatever the stated objectives, the segments made, the various distinct segments made, selecting the entities of each of these elements is very difficult for the researcher also. Say for example, in this, if the 38% of the population is college educated and 62% of the population have not been to college, then 38% is randomly selected from the college educated subset of the population, and 62% of the sample is randomly selected from the non-college going population. Here, going population, going to the college is 38%, not going, it is the 62%. So from the non-college going population, it is very difficult. So maintaining the ratio between these two while selecting the randomized sampling method, sampling and randomized sample is the key stratified sampling, and that this technique it is the depending upon the wisdom, the knowledge of the researcher, how he will be, he has involved in the the entire process. What will be the steps? Because sometimes the researcher the stratification of all the segmentation, ensuring the relevance also. What the random of the population you target, the all the, and according to theme of the study, according to the stated objectives, and choose a stratification and variable by which the populations are stratas. So homogeneity is also, we have to categorize, ensures that categorization is also depending upon the researcher. It is depending upon the wisdom, depending upon the depth of the researcher. Okay, here list all the elements of the target population according to chosen stratifications. Choose a sample size of the study. Out of this, calculate the sample size of each strata, each group, and or the stratification what you made, and this will be depend on the type of stratified sampling, and that is going to be employed by the researcher. whether it is proportionate or disproportionate. So this also will be in the hands of the researcher also. Use always a simple random sampling to choose the elements from each stratum, keeping the stratum's sample size in your mind always, in our mind also. So when is the stratified random sampling used? We cannot use for all the research work. And which, when it is to be used, when the studies aim to find the relationship or differences. Differences means or any sort of relationship between the different subgroups of the population. So education is connected with the empowerment, or empowerment is the connected with the education, or vice versa. What it is, relevancy, relevant, can be connected, can be established relationship. When the researcher are trying to study only specific strata of the population, and when the researcher want to save time by using a smaller sample size, stratified sampling can be used to pick a sample group, and it's a highly accurate method of sampling. A large size is not required here. So it is the wisdom of the researcher is very important. So when researcher wants to save the time by having the smaller sample size, a stratified sampling can be used. So when we don't have the time and we don't have the resources much, maybe use it to pick a sample group, as it's a highly accurate method, and this will be covering the large size of the population. The elements are not required. And come to the clustering sampling. The fourth important sampling techniques is under the probability sampling. The cluster sampling. The cluster sampling is probability sampling techniques. Under the researcher, of course, where researcher divided the population into multiple groups, make each cluster. Okay, each cluster, he has named each cluster, identified the cluster, is according to convenience on some basis. The researcher then going to select random groups with a simple random or a systematic random sampling techniques by using the data collection and data analysis. This cluster sampling is a defined sampling method where the researcher creates multiple groups, multiple clusters of people from the population, from the universe, where they are indicative of the homogeneity characteristics or the homogeneous characteristics, and have equal chance of being a part of the sample. So this is very important. A researcher pay the attention, and of course, even if he paid the attention, sometimes error may occur also here. So I will give the example. Consider the whole scenario. When an organization is looking to survey the performance of the smartphone India, or even looking maybe this across India. The entire country is divided into cities. That is, make it is a cluster and select further the towns in the highest population, and also filter those using the mobile devices. So this will be also a ready-made software. Also, there the times for which we can, some of the organized specialized agencies, they will provide. But however, a researcher should check the authenticity of the this also techniques, whether it will be possible, it will be usable, it will be the outcome what it is coming, it is correct or not also. And this is very, very important on the part of the researcher also. And here, the when the device, when we can divide the entire country's population in cities, that means the clusters, and further we can go down to the towns or the layouts also, where highest population or the concentration is more, and filter those, and filter further also, further filtering those using mobile device, who are using mobile devices in that particular more populated or highest population in that locality is very important. Here, to conduct clusters, here the decide the target audience and also sample size for the, say for example, whole universe. Okay, you are selecting out of maybe 100. Okay, and after that create and evaluate the sampling frame. Either the existing framework or creating a new one for the target audience, which is acceptable accordingly. Because your knowledge, you are understanding the population, you are understanding it audible. Is it audible?
Sir, audible, sir, but not clear, sir.
ಯಾವ್ದಿದು MI? Okay. Connected. Is it? It's okay. Is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay.
Sir, you are audible, sir.
Audible, sir.
What we are speaking with the clamp. The various steps involved class sampling. Sample created the sample lines and we have complete, I think. And another part is the determination groups, including the averages in each group. Make sure that the researcher makes sure that each of the groups are from one another. It's not similar or it is the other group. And the fourth select and choose the cluster because we had various clusters and these clusters they appear random selection selection and by using the sample will be more effective. And create some type of when the reader need the relevant the need arises. If he or she feels that it is the bifurcate into and one must stay possible. Hello, madam. Clear. I will.
ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಇದೆಯಲ್ಲ. Slow is the system. Hello, is it audible? Is it? Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir. Audible,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay,
Audible,
okay.
sir.
Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Kindly all of you mute and let Dr. Kanagavalli react to me, so that if all of you, it will be, no, my ear will become damaged. Okay, anyhow, application of the cluster sampling, and this sample technique is used in the area of geographical cluster sampling for the market research. If it is the geographically, it will be, the wide, no, the area is very vast, and under such circumstances, this cluster sampling is of, no, very good also. A broad geographical area can be expensive to visit, and, no, physically visit, to survey in comparison, or to surveys that are sent to clusters that are be divided based on the region. The sample numbers have to be created and maybe increased, what extent it is required to achieve the accurate results as per the objectives stated by the researcher. But the cost of savings involved market this process of rising cluster is also attainable. So these are all the, various steps involved to make cluster sampling more accurate, more reliable, and easy to draw the conclusions also. Next is the multi-stage sampling, and here multi-stage sampling is here, the what will be the here again we can also talk about the cluster sampling versus the stratified sampling, because we have already third important probability sampling, stratified random sampling and cluster sampling. See, in the stratification, divide the population into groups different, and the different groups from either on the basis of sex, on the basis of race, on the basis of the age. When going to be cluster, when we talk about the cluster sampling method, divide the population into comparable groups. We have to compare each group also. The homogeneity is there. The school going, college going students, non-college going population. Like that we have even cities also and towns also we have divided in the cluster. But in the stratified, we are whole population will be going to divide, and the groups will be different groups, maybe on the basis of sex, on the basis of race, on the basis of religion, on the basis of age, or age group also. So under the stratification, sample randomly from the each group, randomly from each group. In the case of the clustering, randomly sample some of the groups. Here in stratification, less error compared to the simple random, and in case of cluster, more error compared to the simple random. And it is, of course, the stratification is more expensive to obtain the stratification information, but reduces the cost of the sample only some area of organization. So these are all the some of the advantages where it is required, where we have to be used and not used, decide and based on the researcher wisdom. And last one under the probability sampling techniques, one is the multi-stage sampling. This is very important, and multi-stage sampling is very important. Is it is a method of divides the population into groups. Here also make the clusters for conducting the social science research. It is the complex from form of cluster sampling, sometimes also known as multi-stage sampling. And during this sampling method of social science researcher, a significant clusters of selected populations are split into subgroups at various stages, at various each different stages also, to make it simpler are the primary data collection for collecting the data through the questionnaires to various means. When will be, where to be, how to be the application of the multi-stage sampling. And multi-stage sampling is applied mainly to these areas. What those areas are called? Applied to a multi design where the population is too vast and researching every individual is impossible. And to gather the student perception from student belonging to various colleges studying in different courses and located throughout the country, this multi-stage sampling is gives the good result also. And here this multi-stage sampling, here application of this to surveying and survey the employees also of the organization, of a multinational corporation, of a transnational company also, belonging to multiple locations and located and situated in different countries of the world. Okay, so this multi-stage sampling gives the result also. So that will be advantage. And government bureaus. And this method all the time draw the inferences from the populations. So it is also this one of the advantages enjoyed by this multi-stage sampling method. And what advantages from this multi-stage sampling? So a researcher, this multi-stage sampling method derive various advantages. It allows the researchers to apply cluster or random sampling after determining the groups, because we are going to determine this is the group, this is the first group, this is the second group, third group, like that. And we are comparing the homogeneity also. A researcher can also apply multi-stage sampling to make clusters and subclusters. See, clusters also we can make. Within the cluster, we can divide and subclusters until the researcher reaches the desired size of or type of group, desired population, desired elements also. So, researchers can divide the population into groups without restrictions here. No restrictions at all. It allows flexibility to the researchers to choose the sample carefully. Only thing, the careful consideration is required on the part of the researcher, because his objectives to reach and outcome, to see the outcome, because whatever the expected outcome by the researcher for which it is doing. So finding the right for the researcher also, this is more convenient, and researcher mindfully chooses the audience, and this will decreases the issues faced during the random sampling method. Maybe simple random sampling method or systematic sampling method also. All these will be overcome here in the multi-stage sampling. It does not need a complete list of all the members of the target population, dramatically reducing the sample preparation cost also under the multi-stage sampling method. So here is an example of multi-stage sampling, setting up to understand easy. Let us consider the sample location as the USA. The research goal is to assess the online spending trends of the population in the US through an online questionnaire. Researchers can here form their sample groups comprising 200 households in the way, in a systematic way. How? Firstly, choose the number of states using the simple random sampling or any other probability sampling according to the choice. For example, select the 10 states. What the second step, the stage, choose the 5 districts out of which. And this within the state using the systematic sampling method or any other probability sampling. Thirdly, choose 4 households. 4 households only is enough. From each district using the systematic sampling or simple random sampling method, you will end up with the 200 houses you will get that you can include the sample group for your research. So it is the right, it is the multi-stage sampling. All criteria, all elements, all ingredients are fulfilled. The stated objectives will be fulfilled as per the multi-stage sampling, probability sampling techniques here used. So this is very important on the part. Now come to the, after understanding the probability sampling, non-probability sampling, convenience sampling, and snowball sampling, and quota sampling. What is non-probability sampling? Here, non-probability sampling, the units are selected at the discretion of the researcher. So it is the discretion of the researcher. Researcher has more helping hand, or maybe his hands are free. Such samples are human judgment in selecting the units and have no theoretical basis for estimating the population characteristics. If the researcher is to select a sample of 200 school students, he may exercise his own judgment based on the exercise for finding a given student in the sample. Such a sample is arbitrary, selected because there is a good evidence that is representative of the total population. The evidence is always based on the experience of the researcher, because researcher has certainly good experience and he will gain and interact with the different different personalities he meet. He consult the books also, he go through it also. So he is the best judge, best what it is required, what how much the extent. So say for example, in a study of delinquency, the crime, okay, the researcher on the basis of his past experience select certain areas that have shown higher rate of delinquency acts in the past. So even the crime branch of various states, which state is the highest crime branch, which state is the lesser, which state is the better law and order situation. Like that we want to conduct. Here in non-probability sampling, the cases are selected on such basis as availability and also the interviewer judgment, because interviewer is the one, the person who is also, no, he is the judge, judging himself. The researcher will be judging himself. Under the non-probability methods are very convenient in the situation when the sample to be selected is very small and the researcher wants to get some ideas of the population. So population characteristics in short time. So what the characteristics? Here there is no idea of population of the researcher, no much idea. There is no probability of selecting any individual. It has free distribution. The observations are not used for generation purpose. Non-pragmatic, the parametric and non-referential statistics are used. There is no risk of drawing conclusions here. And here, so non-probability here, convenience sampling and judgmental sampling and quota sampling, snowball sampling. So here, the application of the techniques for non-probability sampling The convenience sampling is also very important. Convenience sampling is defined as method adopted by the researcher where they collect market research data from conveniently available pool of respondents. So it is the most commonly used sampling techniques, as it is incredibly prompt, uncomplicated and also economical. In many cases, members are readily approachable to be a part of the sample. And researchers use various sampling techniques in situations where there are large population. And researcher chooses the members merely based on the proximity and does not consider whether they represent the entire population or not. Using this technique, they can observe habits, opinions, and viewpoints in the easiest possible manner. So here application of the convenient sampling method. It is applied by brands and organizations. Measure their perception of their image in the market. And data is collected and from potential customers to understand the opinions of new. For example, this will be it is more convenient, the convenience sampling method also, and it is only available for option. Say for example, a university student working on a project and wants to understand the average consumption of a soda on the campus, in the campus, and maybe every day, or say for example on Friday night, will most possibly call his or her classmates and friends and ask how many cans of soda they consume, or may go to the party nearby and conduct an easy survey. So we will be visiting such an area and conduct the research, and that will be more convenient, and that is the convenience sampling. So convenient sampling is another example. A basic example of convenience sampling method is when companies distribute their promotional pamphlets and ask the questions at mall, even or on a crowded street with randomly selected participants. So sometimes in the morning when we are going to walking, and the free newspaper and the daily newspaper will be distributed randomly, is it? So there is some issue will be there relating to them. They will be coming and buying all the newspapers on that particular day and distribute free of cost on the crowded places like that also. So businesses use this sampling method to gather information, to address critical issues arising from the market in the when launching the new product, when we are going to launch the new product. They also use it when collecting the feedback about a particular future, particular characteristics, and here very important, newly launched product from the sample, what it is created. So here, for instance, a marketing student needs to get feedback on the scope of the content, the marketing in 2021. The student may quickly create an online survey, send a link to all the contacts on your phone, on his or her phone, share a link on a social media and talk to the people to meet daily or even face to face also. There are certain advantages under the non-probability sampling techniques, this convenient sampling, and there are 6 advantages available for the convenience sampling and for relating to social science research. Collect the data is more important. It is as quick as possible. Quickly we can collect the data, and also inexpensive to create the samples and easy to research also. It is a low cost also, really available sample also, fewer rules to follow. It is not much rules required to be followed. So when data can be collected easily, many researchers choose this method for quick data collection, and rules to gather elements for the samples are least complicated in comparison techniques such as simple random sampling or stratified sampling or systematic sampling. Due to this simplicity, data collection takes minimal time to the researcher also under the non-probability sampling convenience method. And it is also inexpensive to create a samples also, and not necessary to quite large compared to convenience sampling. It allows a researcher to generate more samples with less or no investment and in a brief period also. And cost is also very limited and less also. The researcher adopt this technique, and when on a small budget, researcher, especially students and so on, collecting members of for the sample becomes easy also. And this sample is readily available. Data collection is easy and accessible also to the researcher. Most convenient sampling considers the population at hand, at available, so at accessible. So samples are readily available to the researcher, no need to search and so they do not have to move around too much for data collection. Quotas are met quickly, and data collection filter members of an audience, a gathering critical information. The data becomes data becomes not complicated. And for instance, if an NGO wants to survey research, hmm? ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಇಲ್ಲ so this the NGO wants to survey women's empowerment also, and this will be easy. They can go to schools and colleges, offices, etc. in their proximity and gather quick responses also. Now let us come to the what is the time? What time I can give the for uh, no, break? What time it is required?
10 minutes break, sir.
What?
10 minutes
Hello?
break. Break 10 minutes, sir.
Shall I give 10 minutes
Yes.
now?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Break.
okay. Okay, thank you. Maybe I will be whatever no talking so far, the issues relating to the social science research, the sampling methods in social science research. We will be go further in the next second session also after 10 minutes break. What organizer said, and any questions so far we have discussed, or maybe going to ask at the end, or the interaction at the end. Professor
Okay,
Guru.
10 minutes break later, we will meet.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Very nice session. Respondents are providing the response.
Okay, thank you, sir. Maybe
Okay, we will.
audio, some problem is there. Audio, I
Yes,
think.
that is a technical problem. Yeah, that is the participant, they know well. It's a technical problem, but session is very nice. So they take some break. After 10 minutes, we start again.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
We will
thank
meet
you very
after
much.
10 minutes.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Welcome back to the second session. Hello, is it audible?
Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Good.
So we have discussed so far the sampling techniques, the two categories, probability and non-probability. And probability sampling techniques completed. Non-probability techniques we have in the convenient sampling, and that also I think steps to conduct the convenient sampling. And let us move to the snowball sampling method also. And here the the issues relating to non-probability techniques, we have in the snowball techniques, snowball sampling, non-probability sampling techniques, and here the sampling defined as the non-probability sampling techniques in which the samples have traits that are rare to find by the researcher also. And this sampling technique in which existing subjects provide referrals to recruit samples required for a research study. Say for example, if you are studying the level of cluster stratification among the members of an allied country club, okay, say for example, you will find it extremely difficult to collect primary data sources unless you are a member of that club and the club agrees to have a direct conversation with you and provides a contact, the details of the other members of the club. And here this sampling method, the snowball sampling method, involves a primary data source nominating other potential data sources that will be able to participate in the research studies by the researcher. Here, under the snowball sampling method, is purely based on referrals. And unless you are the member of the club, you are not allowed to interact and give the permission or maybe referred. And that is how the researcher is able to generate a sample. Therefore, here, this method is also called the chain, it is also called as a chain referral sampling method. And snowball sampling is a popular business study method, and many of the researchers, many of the organizations, specialized agencies also conducting this type of research. And it is extensively used where the population is unknown and rare, and it is tough to choose the subject to assemble them in a samples for research. And this sampling techniques can go on and on just like a snowball, increasing in size, increasing in sample size also, expanding also, add some more samples also, till the time research has enough data to analyze and to draw the convenient, draw the conclusive results that can help the organization make informed and take a right decisions. So this is a continuous process, and here it is the possibility of till the enough data, whatever the data required to be collected, you can collect also to draw for drawing the conclusions, to draw the conclusive results also. And snowball sampling where it is applicable, where we can make an application also. And here, under this snowball sampling is usually used in cases where there is no pre-calculated list of target population details, or the sometimes homeless people also will be there. Is it audible? Some sound is generating.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Okay. And here, for example, homeless people also there, they are migrating, or nomadic tribes, what we call it as semi-nomadic or nomadic tribes. They are moving from place to place. And there is an immense pain involved in contacting members of the target population. And here also, the researcher has put strain also. So members of the target population are not inclined towards contributing due to a social stigma attached to them, or maybe hate and crime, even HAT, hate, crime, and rape or sexual abuse victims, and sexuality, etc. These. So the are the conformity are the conformity or the confidentiality of the organization respondents work for one UN terrorist organization or FBI or CIA, etc. For some population, snowball sampling is the only way for collecting the data and meaningful information. For instances, a snowball sampling can be used. No official list of names of the members available. That is one of the characteristics of this snowball sampling system. And these sampling techniques and size of the sample can be used for a population where there is no easy available data like their demographic information. For example, homeless or list of members of an elite club, or personal details cannot be obtained easily to the researcher is one of the important difficult tasks for the researcher to come out for the conclusions or maybe solution to the problems. Another the instances difficult to locate the people and people with rare diseases. Okay, and this no victims are rare diseases are quite difficult to locate. However, if the researcher is carrying out a research study similar in nature, finding it is not the difficult. The primary data source can be a challenge task to the researcher. He or she is identified, they usually have the information about more such similar individuals. And another characteristics of this type of research where we can apply people who are not willing to be identified themselves. And the researcher is carrying out a study which is involves collecting information or data from sex data or sex workers or victims of sexual assaults or individuals who do not want to disclose their sexual orientations. These individuals will fall under this category. And secretiveness about their identity is one of the another difficulty for the researcher to carry out. People who belong to a cult or rare religious extremists or hackers usually fall under this category. A researcher will have to use a snowball sampling method to identify these individuals and exact information from them. This type of sampling is preferred in the some medical practices and social research, case of discard. These are all the some of the areas the researcher can preferred the application or type of sampling can be used. And the last one is the quota sampling. Is it quota sampling? When you can characterize the population based on the certain desired features. How it is? It starts with the characterizing the population based on the certain desired features, the characteristics, and assigns quota to each subset of the population. So under this, what will be happening? What will be happening? The pros, though the method is superior, are convenience and snowball sampling. It does not offer the statistical insights of any of the probability methods. So this is the difficulty of the researcher. You can use the case also. If a survey requires a sample 50 men and 50 women, a quota sample will survey respondents until the right number of each type of until surveyed by the researcher. Unlike the stratified sampling, the sample is not necessarily randomized also. And randomly select elements from that list. So the reasons for using any alternative procedures include cost, timeliness, and convenience, etc. Is quota sampling. The technique is often used to market researcher and those taking political polls during the political no, exit polls and the after post and no, pre polls. During these situation, or our electronic media are also no, relaying this information also. For example, if you are interested in ethics group or the ethnic group, okay, ethnic groups such as Italians or Germans or Russians and so on and so forth, and knew their population percentage, you would select your sample so as to obtain these percentages. Within each subset, participants are not chosen randomly. This is a simply and because there are usually no ready-made lists from which the researcher can select randomly. So often individuals are selected in the sample on the basis of availability. For this interest had to construct it. However, if exhaustive ready-made lists were conveniently available for the population of interest, then choosing participants randomly would be possible and preferable. And here, so a researcher wants to survey individual about what issues, what smartphone brand, for example, they prefer to use. Gender 250 males and 250 females, age 100 respondents, each between the ages of 16, 20 or 21, 30 or 31, 40 or 41, 50 and 50 above. So employment status may be, for example, 350 employed and 150 unemployed people. Researcher apply further nested quotas. For example, out of the 150 unemployed people, 100 must be students. So location may be 50 responses per state. So depending upon the type of research, the researcher can apply quotas and based on the sampling frame. It is how to use it. So this is one of the difficult tasks for the researcher also many times. Criteria, what criteria is required for selecting the sampling techniques? So for selecting the criteria relating to the, in the previous issues what we have discussed, we have examined the various sampling methods and their features also, applications and their limitations also. And now let us examine the criteria for selecting the appropriate sampling plan for a given study. And we have to see that the whether what extent the decision process is complicated one relating to the size, the survey, the area covered, the geographical area. The intention of the researcher is also important. The time factor and desired precision. or reliability of the results vis-a-vis the relative features of the suitability, the various sampling techniques are important. So it is also depending upon the researcher, the wisdom many times also. And here, any next slide, please. And now the probability sampling, these are all we have, I think I have, we have discussed actually when I am giving the examples, these will be, no, probability, the characteristics, you move to the next slide, probability sampling, sample random sampling, yes, we have used this, I have explained this one also, the entire process of sampling is done in a single step, okay. The examples also I given the example also, list of clients, see here the random subsample also, the whole universe, and the systematic sampling also. To understand the systematic sampling, okay, next, then next systematic sampling selection also. See here, go back this slide, let me, I think we would have, who used this one. Okay, n is a total number 1 to 20. So 100 by 20 by 100, it will be 5. Is it? Select a random number 1 to 5 and we choose 4. Is it? So this we have also discussed while I gave the examples also. Then go to the next slide. Stratified random sampling under the probability sampling techniques and divide the population. Yes, this method attempts to overcome the shortcomings of the random sampling. Yes, the stratified random sampling overcome the systematic sampling, the drawbacks. Next. Okay, next. Examples also I gave these examples, same examples, but 38% of population college educated and 60. Okay, next. And list of clients, see the strata and Asians and African, American, and like that we have make a clients on the basis of strata or the towns or the cities, like that also. Next. Cluster sampling. So divide this will be groups, we made the clusters also on the basis of geographical area or for the various new product introduction in the when we want to new product launching, this will be cluster sampling, helps a lot also. Next. Examples also I given cluster sampling. See each cluster, there are 5 clusters also there here in the picture, and performance of the smartphones examples I gave, the Indian situation I gave. Okay, here German is the highest population. Okay, next. Multi-stage sampling. This is a very important. See, we have also discussed this multi-stage cluster sampling. Of course, it is a complex cluster sampling system of probability sampling technique, but this will be desired results. The researcher can choose. Choose the population. He can divide the population on the basis of. He can make the groups also, and each stage, the expected data. Each stage or each group, group contributes a lot, and it provides a lot of information, data. It is easy to interpret also. It is easy to manage the whole data and a systematically collected data under the multi-stage sampling, under the probability sampling, and significant clusters to be of the selected people are split into subgroups at various stages to make it simpler for primary data collection. This is very, very important. So researcher can apply his mind, can take the required data, and making each group also the specific. Each group also gives what required data, we can draw the data, we can seek the data, we can sort the data, and specific issues also. Each group is contributes a lot to the system, to you, for the primary data, which will be very important for the researcher. Next slide. Yes, this will be, I gave the examples also. Researcher wants to understand. Okay, this I will give this example. I have not speak this one. A researcher wants to understand pet feeding habits among the people living in India. Okay, he may or she requires a sample size of 200 respondents. The researcher select 10 states out of 50 at random. So maybe randomly pick out 5 districts per state. From these 50 randomly selected states, 4 pet owning households for conduct is, say, how many of them having the pets in their homes, like that we can know habit of feeding the pets, like that we can come the how many of them in the country or in the state, in the locality, like that. This will be very useful information whenever, many times, particularly under the corporate area or municipality area, municipality administration or corporate administration will catch the stray dogs and vaccination undertaken, and to curb the population, and it will disturb the children also many time, and also they are not trained properly. They are haphazardly react on the population or the children also. This we have seen on the newspaper also. This research will help a lot to the government, municipality and corporations also. Next slide, please. Okay, see the country, make little bit bigger, and the country, is it visible, this slide? The country, Australia, what is the total population? Under the Australia states, under the states local government areas, under the local government areas census collectors are the district collectors. Okay, under that households, under that individual. So here come to the total population, first stage sample, second stage sample, third stage sample, fourth stage sample. Even we reach to the households, to the level of households at the lowest strata of the society. And fifth stage, it is the individual. So that the final sample. So here make the researcher more it is more depth. He can conduct the research also, and go to the slide. He can make he can find collect data, which type of data should be required for each one, and what level it is required, whether at the country level, at the stage first is under the first stage, what will be the under the states, what will be the local government required, how much of this is the second stage. Okay, third stage, how many of districts should be covered, like that. It also wisdom of the researcher also to make the how much of representatives required to elicit particular, to take the decision particular issues also. And next slide. Of course, non-probability we have discussed. The units are selected. Okay, non-probability methods very convenient to the researcher also under various situations also, and we can also in the short period of time we can do, and within hours also we can do under the non-probability sampling technique system. Next. And convenient sampling under the sampling technique, non-probability sampling. One is the convenient sampling, convenience sampling. Another one is the snowball sampling and quota sampling. Under the convenience sampling, The elements of each sample are picked only on the basis of convenience in terms of availability, even in terms of accessibility, the locality, area, the time factor. All these will be also under the control of the researcher. And everything is under the, in the hands of the researcher, but ultimately the purpose for which it is the research topic designed and the objectives created, and what will be the outcome expected is very important. So here convenience, it is the conveniently we can, and a researcher can apply his mind also here. Okay, next slide. Okay, convenient sampling, we have discussed these issues. Okay, next. Yes, next, please. This is the what, see, no, wait 1 minute. And here, the convenient sampling, you see, the conveniently we can choose which one we required, which area, which geographical area required is required. On the basis of convenient, we can also, the even a marketing students need to get feedback here. Okay, a student, we are asking our student to get feedback on the scope of content marketing in 2021. Okay, the student may quickly create an online survey, send a link to all the contacts on his her phone, share a link on the social media and talk to people and meet daily, even face to face or virtually also can interact. So this convenience sampling is quick and easy deliver results, and it is also possible to insight in a shorter period without investing too much of money, is one of the most advantageous under the non-probability sampling. Next slide. Of course, this snowball sampling, you are seeing that snowball sampling, we have discussed this when you can rely on your initial respondents, okay, to refer to the next respondents. So referring one to one, so I am referring the next person, and another person, A person, B person will be referring C person or D person, like that also. ಇದು ಕಡಿಮೆ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ನೋಡಿ. Okay. So just as a snowball rolls, like gathers the mass and continuous till the our information required, till our required information collected, we can do continuously and refer to the next like that. So connecting the till the purpose is Hello, madam.
Audible, sir.
Mahalakshmi, can you? Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I am audible.
Okay, sir.
Next slide.
Okay,
I asked.
sir. Okay, sir.
So this is the, if you are studying the level of customer satisfaction among the members of Elite Country Club, I have gave the examples. We would have discussed during this. Maybe because of the network, I could not able to see this one also. Okay, we have discussed this chain referral sampling method. This is a very good technique under the non-probability sampling techniques. Next. Yes, this snowball which we were discussed also, and under the snowball, when you rely on your initial respondents to refer to the next respondents. Just as the snowball rolls, gathers mass, the sample constructed in this way will grow in size according to our requirement, a researcher requirement. And this technique, and this sampling technique under the non-probability, this snowball, no, you rely on your initial respondents to refer you to the next respondents whom you may connect for the purpose of your survey. And here the customer, if you are relying on the level, the customer satisfaction among the members of a elite, what I gave the example of country club, snowball sampling can be useful. It is useful when you need a sample to reflect certain features that are difficult to find. So such circumstances, the snowball sampling non-probability techniques will be used. And so snowball sampling would be a quick and accurate way of creating a sample size and collecting the data. This method, what we call it as the chain referral sampling method. It is a continuous referring. A may be connected to B, B will be referred to C, C maybe, and X also. Like n number of respondents, referral sampling, this referred and collect the data from till our required data or till the sufficient data satisfied level or the required level we can achieve also. Next slide. Next slide. This is hello. Hello, is it audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are speaking of the quota sampling, and quota sampling sampling is a sampling methodology under the non-probability sampling techniques. And here the methodology wherein data is collected from the homogeneous group. It is not heterogeneous, it is homogeneous group. When we characterize the population based on the certain desired the features and according to the required, the researcher what extent the required the data, and this of course this process extended to cover several characteristics and the varying degrees of complexity. And here under the quota sampling, next slide, quota sampling, male above 50. If you see, for example, in the slide, you can see the slide. Next slide, please. So here quota sampling, you see the quota and the methodology wherein data is collected from homogeneous, all these homogeneous groups, and this group left and above 40, for example, right side, and see the drawing the researcher on the basis of certain basis. Here basis also will be there, and the criteria for the sampling techniques here when we are when the population, the universe, whole universe quota sampling, and the purpose of the survey should be clear in the minds of the researcher, and it should be measurability, it should be degree, what extent of the degree of precision, exactness, and what nature of the population, we should know the population nature, and also geographical area covered for the study and the size of the population required, financial resources, time, location, and economy. These features are important. And the size of the determination of the size, the determination of the sample size, there are some misconception about the required size of the population or the sample. One is that the sample should not be less than 10% of the population. And that is very important. The researcher should see that this rule will be commonly known as the 1/10 rule is not relevant to large population. But when small in size, the universe is the that will be applicable, and that should be required on the part of the researcher. Another misconception is larger the small size, greater may be the accuracy of the sample results. Okay, that also where how much, what extent, what is the size required, that also very important. Although an increase in sample size will increase the precision of the sample results, a large sample size does not guarantee the accuracy of the results. Don't think that we are having the large population, which in turn does not result the guarantee of the accuracy of the results. So next slide, the types of the error. Okay, sample error. And okay, sampling error, non-pro sampling errors. And here what it is on the part of the, all these will be the purpose of the survey and measurability and the degree of precision, the information about the population, the nature of the population, geographical area of the study and the size of the population. All these determination on the part of the researcher and a clear clarity on these issues also very important. There are some these issues pertaining to inferential statistics or inferential statistics. The sample size required depends upon how big difference between two groups. You want to be able to detect with the large sample sizes, small differences can be detected. If the small sample size is sufficiently large, virtually any population difference will be result in the statistical significance. And the smaller sample size, the larger must be the population differences to achieve the statistical significance. So here, the stated another way, the other things being equal, the greater the sample size, the less is the probability of drawing a conclusion that is an error, that is in error. So in carefully conducted survey research, a sample size determines how closely the sample values approximate the population values. Assuming valid sampling procedures, the larger the sample, the more closely on an average will the sample values approximate the sample population values. The relationship between the sample size and sensitivity is the curve of diminishing returns, and beyond a certain point, the cost and effort required to achieve the greater sensitivity becomes disproportionately large. So, for example, a dramatic difference in size between the sample and population to which the results are generated is found in Nielsen ratings. The Nielsen organization surveys the television viewing habits of about 5,000 households. That means 13,000 persons of each week. From this survey, they make estimates connecting the viewing habits of around 250 million individuals watching television in the United States. And this amounts what happened to the sampling about 1 in every 20,000 viewers. Even so, apparently, the Nielsen estimates are sufficiently accurate to satisfy the competitive TV networks. This survey, the sample of non-sampling errors and sampling size the efforts and the application of the mind on the part of the this Nielsen survey is very important. And here what I want to say, the sampling and non-sampling errors, these are the errors will be certainly will be there. And the sampling errors, the errors which arise because of the studying only a part of the total population, are called the sampling errors, and these may arise due to the non-representatives of the samples and the inadequacy of the sample size. When several samples are drawn from the population, their results would not be identical. So that is also the researcher should take care on these issues. The degree of variations of the sample results is measured by the standard deviation. So what and it is known as the standard error also of the concerned statistic. As sample size increases, the magnitude of the error decreases. That is the common perception also. And it all these the sampling issues, the sampling and non-sampling errors issues, and non-sampling errors, and these are all errors which arise from the sources other than the sampling. They include errors of observations on the part of the researcher, errors of measurement and errors of responses. The data are collected, though the methods of observation or interviewing, the physical procedures of observation or interviewing are subject to imperfection, which cause and percolate the errors also. And this also entering into what extent, the degree of extent percolated into the data. And measurement of errors consists of error in processing and analysis. Errors of response include incorrect responses of the respondents, mistakes in noting their responses, etc. And even if you take the non-sampling biases, it is also, these biases are posing the problems for scientific measurement. They affect both population sample values and account for the difference between the population value and the true value. And here they consist of the biases of observation and non-observation, response biases and the processes biases. And biases of observation, these are all caused by the obtaining and recording observation incorrectly also. Sometimes non-observation biases arises. This is because of the failure to obtain observation on some segment of the population due to either not coverage or non-response also. And ultimately the researcher role, researcher has pay more attention, and according to the wisdom application of the mind, and where it is required to be try to avoid and try to minimize minimal level of the percolated this the information is very important. So the quality of information, quality of collection, the information sought from the various sources on the part of the researcher, and it is very, very important. And this the quality of collected information, data analyzed and interpreted, and gives the result, the stated objectives achieved, and hypothesis what designed, it will be proved, and it will be drawn the conclusions which will be more relevant to the policymakers and administrators. The institutions also, and even the researcher, the letter may be due to refusals, and sometimes the the respondents are the very important for us. A researcher should see and understand various dimensions, the knowledge, the attitude, and the sense of responsibility, responsiveness, responses, all carries the quality of research will come. The more authenticated, the valued information collected by the researcher and analyzed, and the imperfections will be less, and perfection moving towards the perfection, because since the response biases, they consists of biases arising from the imperfection in field observations or interviewing, and these no all these the processing bias are the produced during the coding and tabulating and compiling and computing will be minimized, and try to clarity clear path, because the roadmap is clear in the minds of the researcher. He will be landing, he will be reaching the destination where he want to achieve. What he want to achieve, he will be going to achieve. And certainly it will be more, the researcher, social research will produce a lot of the relevant quality flood of information, the quality information, flow of information to various organizations, the business organizations, big business, small, medium, and MSM, all organizations, even institutions, even day-to-day life, what we are facing, that also will be useful, and the quality of social science research more relevant under the NEP 2020. Individually can grow, individually can increase the weightage as a teacher, and also contributes the organization. In turn, the quality of the education sector, the quality of higher education will be benefited, and we will be lead what we have the old even the 5th and 6th centuries Taxashila and various universities, what research, what the contribution made will be more relevant also. The gross enrollment also will increase, and these issues also very important. And what complexities, what the multidisciplinary and exit policy and certification and student choice, student openness, all these issues now we can taken up the issues under the new NEP, and this can be conducted the research also, come out with the solution. We are going to implement this NEP also. The government of India accepted. As teachers, we cannot go back. We cannot restrict ourselves, check ourselves, reserve to move the change. So change is a permanent phenomena, and we are going to move. And this social science research, the selection of the sampling, the methods, and social science research contributes a lot to the higher education. And whatever the technical and the medical field, this social science research is also very important for them also, for the growth of the other, the sister disciplines, sister sectors also very important to all the. So this social research many times will be neglected, and we are not going to neglect. We want to be update, and we are going to contribute quality of social science research outcomes to the administrators and needy people, even agriculture, the family, even the farmers who is under strained today under the LPG era, under the second generation reforms. And we can see in the entire country, and all these issues, a commerce student, a commerce teacher can take up these issues also, even cooperative sector, even giant sector, even multi various sectors who are functioning in the economy, their contribution, their role, their involvement in the contributing the, what is the individual contribution, what is as a whole sector contributing is also very important. With these few words, I can conclude that I thank the Alagappa University authorities and Professor T.R. Gurumurthy, Chairman and Dean and Syndicate member, is a very well valued personality in the Alagappa University. Now the NAC accreditation, and very good, the oldest and old university, and contributing a lot And thanks for the Dr. Kanagavalli and Mahalakshmi technical support, and Vinayaga Murthy professor and Ganesh Murthy, all of them participants, and who are looking forward for the change and contributing something as an individual teacher. And certainly it, I think my whatever random ideas and thoughts and views I have shared with no, in the elite and no, professional Excel groups with these, I think in 3 hours, maybe during this little bit difficulty in reaching you because of the technical problems, and this maybe I may ask you to excuse, and maybe we are going to improve because of the technology is required. We are moving artificial intelligence or cloud computing we need. When first lockdown 2020 March 24th, when it was announced by the government, so all of us feared about how to reach the students. So solution with us, we are made it, and we are reached our students, and students also reached, the stakeholders also happy, the country's the development we are contributing, because any country's growth lies with the teacher quality, teacher values, and teacher is the most significant and center of any country's development. We are moving to developing country to developed country in education system in the days to come. Thank you very much for all of you for participating and contributing and listening my random thoughts shared with you. Thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Dear participants, time for interaction.
Madam, I am not hearing. Okay, interaction.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Could you once again repeat the formula used for estimating sample size?
Sir, I am not hearing. Repeat, please.
Could you just repeat the formula used for estimating sample size?
What, sir? I am not hearing. Formula? Formula for? What I am not hearing. Formula for?
Used for estimating the sample size.
Formula for estimating?
Determining sample size.
This, no, we have sampling techniques under the probability sampling and non-probability. Under the formula required the no, for the existing, or maybe it is the sample for the probability sampling for the simple random sampling, and this no 1/10 is the ideal. It also depends 1/10 the base. What is the basis for which type of research, what it is, the case study or exponential, or what type of research, it depends whether the the techniques, and the size always it will be 1/10, probably it will be 1/10 formula for the estimate sample size. Sir, am I audible?
Yes. Will you share the PPT, sir?
I have shared to the Mahalakshmi. Sir, the sample size, for example, the calculations standard deviation. For example, there are several methods used to calculate the sample size depending upon the type of data or the study design. For example, a sample size is calculated maybe n equals 2 into ZA plus Z1 beta and divided by pi square. Is it correct? They where n is the required sample size here and ZA plus Z constant set the conventional according to the accepted error, whether it is one-sided or the two-sided effect. A one side, for example, A error 5% or 1%, 0.1. Two-sided maybe 1.96 or the 1% it will come 2.5758 and 0.1% 3.2905. If it is one-sided 1.65 under the 5% an error, A error. If it is 5% 1.65 one-sided error A and 1% 2.33 for hello.
Yes.
And this no, it is it depends upon the type of this issue, type of issue, type of the topic, the size of the population, and what type of probability techniques will be used, whether probability sampling or non-probability sampling, under which what type of population you have, and depending upon the researcher should decide, and it all depends upon the objective stated and the outcome. It is related to the outcome of the expected outcome from the research. Hello. No.
Screen is not visible, sample size.
It is okay. Some error is there. I will be share this PPT with Mahalakshmi or Professor Gurumurthy sir. I will be going to share and already shared. Again, I will be.
Yes, sir. Dear participant, I will send it to WhatsApp group. This PPT. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. Hello.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Vijay. Tell me.
Sir, in probability sampling, when we are selecting, so if we select a sample method from probability sampling, so is it mandatory to follow lottery method or random table number method or some other computer table method? Is it mandatory for selection of the respondents in probability sampling, sir?
Now, when the probability sampling, there are 5 techniques. 5 techniques are there: simple random sampling and systematic sampling, and stratified random sampling, and cluster sampling, multi-stage sampling. And when, for example, when we the probability sampling, the systematic, the multi-stage sampling is the better. Which technique, probability sampling techniques you are going to use, whether probability sampling or non-probability? Once you stick on to the probability sampling, simple random sampling, it is the name indicates that it is very simple, and you can have the simple, say, convenient way of selecting the size. There is no compulsion. There is no compulsion. However, if you follow certain criteria, that will be the outcome, will be the better outcome. For example, stratified random sampling, which involves the method where the researcher always divides a more extensive population into smaller groups, and that usually don't overlap but represent the entire population. And while sampling, organize these groups and then draw a sample from each group separately. So a standard method is to arrange, or maybe on the basis of sex or the race or the ethnicity and similar ways, so that the data what you sought, it will be clear. It will be, you will be more clear about this. And splitting subjects also into mutually exclusive groups also, and then using the simple random sampling to choose the members from the groups. So members of these groups should be distinct, so that every member of all the groups get equal opportunity to be selected using the simple probability. So the sampling method here, the even call it as sometimes quota sampling, it's a random quota sampling, like that also. It depends upon the researcher, how, if the moving towards the clarity, perfection, because he has designed the hypothesis and draw the design the objectives also. Based on that, he can move which, if we use some basis, if we use some the whatever the sampling, probability sampling, maybe under the simple random or the systematic or cluster or multi-stage or the stratified, it will be certainly it will be gives the more result rather than just simply it all depends upon the researcher. Many times researcher the wisdom also. Yes sir, Vijay, Dr. Vijay.
Sir, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes sir, next. Hello. Dr. Kanaga, you want to say something? I am not able to hear you.
The formal vote of thanks, sir.
I think Dr. Vijay clarified.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay.
Okay. So, formal vote of thanks. I feel honored and privileged to propose vote of thanks on this occasion. And I like to express our sincere thanks to Professor M. Muni Narayanapam, Dean and Chairman, Department of Commerce and Management, Bangalore University, for giving an excellent coverage to section of sampling methods in social science, research and sample size determination. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you all faculty members and thank you all participants. Thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.